Hey everybody, it's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 and 2018 award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And once a month, I host the only show, live stream show in the world for fathers and dads that is sponsored by Dove Men Care and also sponsored by Dad Central. So it's the only one in the world that they sponsor about fathers and dads. That is, I didn't think about that until recently. I go, yeah, like they told me that's the only place in the world that they're doing that. And I'm hosting it and co-producing it. So that is fantastic. But it's none of that tonight. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And once a month, I get the pleasure and joy to be graced by a beautiful lady who's out in Cali named Sheree Williams. And we have a little conversation we have called Cuisine Noir, behind the business, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sheree has been the driving force behind Cuisine Noir Magazine for over 10 years now. And we are now together at least once a month in your face. So let's bring Sheree on. What's going on, Sheree?
Hello. How are you? Happy Tuesday.
How you doing?
Doing well, Dr. Vibe. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to you. I know you haven't been doing anything lately.
No, just working.
And I guess should we talk about the new initiative at the front end or at the back end?
Oh, well, let's give a little preview.
Well, you're the driving force behind it, so you chat.
So yes, so we're excited that we launched our new media nonprofit called the Global Food and Drink Initiative. And it's really the next chapter for us in really bringing these stories into a variety of different channels, such as this vidcast with you that we do once a month. We've got the digital property. We're going to get back into print. We've got our blogs. So, and then also we're going to be adding on and expanding the work, as I like to say, beyond the pages, beyond the screen, and doing programs around helping those in food, drink, and travel. So we got lots going on. We can definitely talk about more later because 2021 is going to be amazing.
And you picked a victim to be your board chair.
I sure did.
What victim did you choose?
I chose you, Dr. Vibe. So just a great supporter. You get the vision, you get what we're doing. And so couldn't be happy to work with you on this.
Well, I'm very humbled to be part of this initiative. For many years, we've amplified each other.
Yes.
And now we're going to get the opportunity to amplify the diaspora together.
Yeah.
And we have a really great team. Funny enough, I'm the only member of the board and the advisory committee that's outside of the US. So there's extra pressure on me.
Yes.
So I don't know if Sheree did it on purpose to say, I want someone outside of my country to deal with these madness.
And you know what? You're the first, but you won't be the last. So.
I received that. So we may talk about that a little bit later, or I know down the line we may do a separate conversation to talk about that and feature some of the people that are part of that great initiative. But tonight we have a special guest, and we have Janice Bartley, and she's the founder of Foodprenuer Lab, which is based in Toronto. Now, if you want to know a little bit about Foodprenuer Lab, we're going to show you a short little video, and we'll be right back.
Is the second largest industry in Canada. But do you see you or your culture represented in this industry? Do you feel the doors are closed to you? Whether you just have an idea for a food product or you're looking to scale for national distribution, there are so many unanswered questions. I founded Foodprenuer Lab because, like you, I am one of those faces. I do not see myself or others like me properly represented in food manufacturing. We need a voice and a different approach to support, development, and scale. We help food dreams grow for you and you and you.
Woo.
Yeah, you like that video?
I like it.
Well, you know what? Before we bring Janice to the stage, I've been very blessed to her family and my family go way back.
Wow.
Like her mother and my dad have known each other for at least 50 years.
Whoa. Wow. Wow.
For at least 50 years. So we had not spoken for a long period of time. And maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, I went to a little get together at a friend's place. And there I see sitting on a chair, Janice and her sister. I go, oh my goodness. And then the funny thing is the gentleman that was holding the party, he grew up with Janice's family. They go way back.
Wow. Dr. I got to get up to Toronto. I'm telling you. I got to do it in 2021. I keep threatening you.
The time will come in due time, but you know what? It's not about us tonight. So let's bring Janice to the floor. Janice, how are you?
I am great. Great to see you, Dr. Vibe. Great to see you, Sheree. Thank you so much for that great intro.
Yeah, well deserved and meaningful. And I know that when I found out you were getting into the food space, I said, V. Sheree. And the excitement I had and felt during your first conversation together, it was like twin sisters of different mothers.
Oh, absolutely. And, I have to say thank you to Cuisine Noir and V. Sheree for the lovely feature that I had in your magazine. That it was well done. So thank you.
Thank you. Always just love telling the stories. That's what we do. And just making sure people are aware, because the work that you're doing, I think one of the things that I realize is as long as I've been hearing these stories and on all of this, there's still someone that needs to know. And everybody is not like they don't have the A through Z answers. And so your work is always going to be needed. So
Thank you.
So Janice, how did Foodprenuer start? Like, I didn't even know. Like, you just came out of nowhere and go, I know that. How did that start?
So in 2019, I started Foodprenuer Lab, ironically, after I got laid off. And so I was already in the food space. And while in there, I noticed a recurring theme, which was the lack of representation. And as I paid closer and closer attention, I started asking the questions, which is how things start. Why are we not playing in this sector? Why are we not being represented? And so when I was laid off, the need was still there. The service was still required. And so I created Foodprenuer Lab, and we've been growing ever since. And we aim to support Black-led food businesses and Black entrepreneurs in the food sector to grow or to scale their business, or even if they have an idea to launch. So that's the whole idea behind Foodprenuer Lab.
Wow.
V. Sheree?
So tell me some of the challenges that you're seeing. What is stopping people from getting started?
So you hit the nail on the head on the intro, which is the A to Z, the not knowing. And while the information is out there, it's not readily accessible. And that's an issue. And so when we start to do a deeper dive, what we're seeing is that somebody may have a great idea, but they don't know where to start. And so if you have an idea and you want to get it to prototype, who do you talk to? What regulations do you need to look at? And so what we've done is we've created a space where we can help you do that. And it's created towards Black, Indigenous, and people of color, because we require a different learning environment. We don't make assumptions that the knowledge is already there. And so we want to create a safe space where it's comfortable, as Black individuals. We want to know that we're in that safe space, that we can learn, that we can ask our questions. In other words, we can let our guard down.
Right.
And so it's very important to be in an environment where you see people that reflect you as well. And so there's a deeper level of understanding culturally as well. And so there are other layers that come with that.
And that lets them be themselves, where someone is not trying to change their concept.
Absolutely.
Get it away from their culture and what they're trying to do. So that has to feel good.
Absolutely. And sometimes through no fault of their own, because it's cultural, they may not understand what the product is about. And we see that many times.
So Janice, why did you pick this industry to get into? You're mad?
Well, it was a great transition, actually. I have some culinary background. I come from hospitality and training. And so those same skill sets transition very well. Also being an entrepreneur for 30 plus years in the food sector, I could relate to the struggles of food entrepreneurs. I worked with a lot of chefs. The chef struggles are real, very similar. But it's interesting because most chefs, when they graduate, they assume that, they're going to go in a kitchen and they're going to aim to become head chef or executive sous chef. And the message that I'm trying to send is there are other alternatives. You could launch your own line. You could branch out. And so we're trying to educate and inform that there are other options in the industry as well as it's growing.
Okay.
Wow. So what are some of the first steps that one should take if they're interested in launching their own food product? What do you recommend? Okay,
so I always say there are no unique products.
Okay.
We improve on it, but there are no unique products.
Hold on a second. There are no unique products.
No, they're not.
Why do you say that?
Because they either exist already and you don't know about them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what you're doing is you're bringing it to market. And so the question becomes, what need are you filling?
Okay.
What gap? If you can answer that question and your product is found to be unique, whether it's a product or a service, then that's the first measurement you start taking to determine, okay, should I go forward with this? Okay. And sometimes, duplication is another form of flattery, or imitation. We see lots of hot sauces, right? But then there's hot sauces that stand out.
Right.
So, what makes yours better than your competitor? And in launching a product, you need to look at who your competitor is. When you're an athlete, you don't ignore who your competition is, right? You look at the stats, you look at the performance. It's the same way with food. You look at your competitor. You look at, what the ingredients are. How are your ingredients are they gonna differ? Are yours gonna be organic, or are they gonna be from a tropical country? In other words, what makes it different? And so the same stats apply as well.
Now, I'm sorry.
I'm going to make a quick suggestion, Janice. I'm going to ask if you can hold your cord away from your necklace, because once in a while,
I'm sorry.
It's sort of clicking.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's it. We'll check along. Yeah, there we go. We got it better now. All right. Sorry, Sheree. I just wanted to make sure that listening experience is as good as we can be. So sorry to interrupt, Sheree. No, you're good. Go ahead. Go, Sheree.
So when you're working with businesses, are you working with two hot sauces at the same time? Like if you have cohorts or groups, or do you say, what, each group will have a product that is not in competition with one another?
Absolutely, you're going to have competition. So I can tell you this. A Jamaican hot sauce difference from a Trini hot sauce, from a Chinese hot sauce, from a Vincentian hot sauce, and I can go down the list, okay? And oddly enough, you can immediately identify a Jamaican hot sauce.
How?
Because the way we prepare it and the ingredients. And that sets their part. I could blind taste test a hot sauce, and I could pick out and tell you which one's the Jamaican hot sauce.
Oh,
and so again, the ingredients. This is part of the education as well. Some people think food is food is food. It's not. How food is grown is essential to flavors, to color, to species, and so those drop into subcategories. One flavor might give you something that's a little bit more tangy. One might give you a little bit more fruity or more sweet or more sour. So it's where are you getting your produce from? That's a very important relationship.
Sheree, when things open back up, I'm going to try to make sure I keep Janice north of the border, because I see this look that you may want to hijack her. Right?
I want a hot sauce.
I will send you some.
I'm about to interview a young lady and her husband on Friday, and they have a sauce called We're Wonderfully Made, and it's Trinidadian.
There you go.
So
There you go.
So Janice, again, why getting into this industry? Me no no. That's your business. But what were the early days like of Foodprenuer Lab?
Like any other Black-led company, there is a struggle. I too can relate to the lack of funding, but I will say to people, don't let that discourage you, because we are not in an environment where we've had a seat at the table. Always remember that. We are now creating seats at the table. Mm. And so we have to alter our behavior. So we have to be willing to go out there and network and call upon people and say, hey, have you thought of, or I was thinking of partnership. Industry partnership is extremely important. And it's not because they don't want to partner. I think it's because it's the lack of opportunities that they have either failed to recognize. I don't want to use the word ignore. I would say fail to recognize. And I think it's an opportunity for us to step up and say, listen, we are here and we have a lot to offer. And the reason I say that is we represent 14% of the ethnic food market, but yet we have 1.2 million Blacks in Canada, which 14% is nothing. So if we were to really tap into that, I couldn't even begin to imagine how much more we could bring to the ethnic market on a broader scale.
Wow.
And so this is what drives me to do what I'm doing.
So Sheree, question for you. Do you know many people that are doing what Janice is doing in your country, in America?
There's a lab called Flavors. I don't know if you want to, I can send some information on that. They have opened sort of like an incubator as well. But other than that, in terms of developing and really focusing on people of color, BIPOC, no, not that I know of. No.
No, I didn't say that to incentivize you for stealing Janice. I just wanted to know the lay of the land, okay? You behave yourself.
You're doing something. Because there's such a need. I have someone that I'm working with, and she wants to start her own spice line. And it's like, where do I start? What do I do? And how do I move forward from there? And then, as we mentioned in the article that you said, funding is another issue, But I think the other thing is really knowing where to start, how to market, the name, the branding, really taking the time to get all of that set up. I think it's so key. And I'm glad that there's a program like yours that helps to do all of that. So
thank you. And that's one of the reasons why we do this program. So we see too often where people say, hey, I have a great idea, and they dive in. And then one of the classic mistakes is they have a product and they go to the printer and they have their label. They have the logo, they have the label. But what they fail to recognize is, as great as the label is and the logo, does it meet the regulations of the food, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency? So if the font is too big, if you fail to list the ingredients by highest to lowest, have you broken down what types of sugars? We now have what's called the Safe Food Canadians Act that went into effect January of 2019, and they've completely revamped. So it's more in depth. So this is why in our program, we spend time, that education element is so important. It's no longer, hey, I have a food idea, I'm going to throw it in a jam jar, I'm going to label it and sell it at the market. No. There's liability associated with this. There's risk. It is food. And as I remind my clients, food kills. Yeah. Make no mistake about it.
You know, it's tough up there in Canada.
Well, we have to. We are very serious about our food guidelines. Okay. And so, we take this seriously. And at the end of the day, nobody wants bad press about your product. So we try and avoid that at all costs.
Do you guys get involved in the fancy food here or fancy food shows?
Yes, we do. Okay. We certainly do.
I think they're going to do a virtual one again for the one that normally takes place in January here in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That I normally go to. And I have to admit, I've been trying to really work more with them around their diversity and inclusion efforts for businesses of color.
Yes.
So, but the one good thing is, I'm a Sophie judge, and so I hate, I was scheduled to go to Philadelphia to judge in March, and that old stupid COVID came along.
Yes.
But definitely, I always think about how, when I go to those shows, where are the Black producers?
Absolutely. And so one of the other things that we've been focusing on showcasing are Black farmers. Black farmers, and even more importantly, Black female farmers. And because that's important, we've seen an uptick in farming. Younger people are now coming into farming because people traditionally think, it's still, the plow and the cow. No, a lot of technology is now coming into farming. So it's not as labor intensive, but it's more technology driven. And so that is incentivizing people to come have another look at, hey, what about farming? And so this is where we see more of these vertical farms popping up. So for example, there are quite a few in the US where they grow spinach, lettuce, tomato. Yeah, exactly. And
the story's changed, right? Would you say so? Because I think I'd love seeing what you're seeing too in Canada, where before it was, they looked at the hard labor of farming, and then now it's about reconnecting to your food, to the earth, and to that legacy of our food. And so it's taken on another meaning. And
absolutely. And so one of the key points in education, especially when you're educating food entrepreneurs, is sustainability. And the next level is food circularity. And a lot of people don't know what food circularity is.
I don't.
Okay, so food circularity is literally zero waste. So for example, the wheat that you would take to make beer, the end process, that the waste that you wouldn't use, you can use that to fertilize the worms, to feed the trout that they grow. And then what you do is the same trout that you grow, you sell to the local restaurants in your community. Then that community will take the end waste from the fish to fertilize the potatoes. And so when you go to the store or the restaurant, you now have fish and chips. The bread from the barley is to make bread. That is food circularity with zero waste. And so we're pushing that now. As a matter of fact, in Guelph, Wellington, they are doing that. And, I have to give a shout out to Sheree Merriweather. She's been pushing this initiative for the last 20 years. And I truly believe this is where we have to go in order to save our planet. We don't have a choice.
Remember your mic.
Yes.
I know you're passionate, but no, just what you shared in the last 2 minutes there, that expanded I had never heard about the term food circularity. What the heck is that?
Yeah, I like that. I've heard of sort of like no waste or whatever, but when you put it like that I can see
every drop is used. And so this is how we have to start looking at how we use our food. And so this will require wider and broader partnerships, because my waste is a food product for somebody else to use. So that's the connectivity, and that's how the loop works.
Nice.
Wow.
It's exciting. I personally think it's exciting.
It's amazing. Something you mentioned a few moments ago, Black females getting pushback or challenge. During the foodpreneur journey, have you experienced any of that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It can come in very subtle ways, but yes, there is pushback. Do I focus on it? No, because the need is greater than the pushback. That's the reality. Nice. And so my focus is solution. We can always sit around and talk about the problem, but we'll never move forward until we find a solution. So, The word no is not offensive to me. I just keep going. It's like, oh no, you can't do that. Oh yes, I can.
Right.
I always refer to my process as Sesame Street: over, under, and through. That's all I know.
I like that.
That's all I've ever known, and that's what brought me to this point. So I continue
Awesome.
that because there's a motto that Foodprenuer Lab has by Maya Angelou, and it is, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And that is a very important motto for me, because it's the Agbodolas that I've met, it's the Kirstens that I've met, it's the Shiravs that I've met, and these are all women who want to start a food product and can't do it because lack of funds, lack of knowledge, lack of access, and I could go lack ... And so for every woman that we get to the table, that's one of the 10,000 that we're trying to bring forward.
Wow.
Nice.
That is big. Sheree.
Wow, I'm just so funding. How do you help with some of the funding, some of those avenues to navigate those challenges?
So right now, there have been a few announcements coming up in the next couple of days. I don't want to give too much because I know they're launching their website, but there are going to be a couple of organizations that will be launching what they refer to as a wraparound service, where participants or applicants might be able to get some funding. There's also going to be a pitch competition for Black entrepreneurial women coming up shortly.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I can't go into details, but I'll say to people, which is significant, because usually we see pitch competitions in tech. And I've been saying for the last 4 years, tech is great, but we can't eat tech. And the agri-food is the second largest sector in Canada.
Wow.
Okay. And we've been ignoring it. So finally, we're recognizing where the growth is, how strong we are. And, just to give you an idea of some numbers, it's like our food and beverage sales is 43 billion. It's 5.8 billion of our GDP. It's nothing to laugh at.
Right.
Wow.
So for Canada, it's 140 billion. So there's significant opportunity for us to step up and play.
Wow.
This is, wow, some serious stuff going on.
Well, the other thing is, traditionally, when you look at where we tend to play in terms of businesses, we tend to do the consulting, the advertising, the legal, the arts and entertainment. We don't really dabble in food on the food production side.
It's true.
So this is another door for us. This is something else for us to consider. And again, this is why I'm out there pushing this initiative, because it's almost as if it's a little secret that we're not aware of. So I'm pushing the key in, and I'm trying to open as many doors and say, hey, come on in, come see what's happening here.
Now, is it just food, or are you doing any beverages?
It's food and beverage.
Okay, so food and beverage.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, beverage has a whole, especially, well, we won't get into the alcohol ones, because that's a whole new, I know you guys are really tough there.
Yes.
But you've got a whole another set of rules and everything regarding the beverages, right? More of the liquid forms, right?
Yes.
Or just drinks in general? Okay. So that's another thing to navigate.
Yep. Same rules will apply. The only thing that's different is the process.
Okay.
Right? So some require fermentation, some require different types of processing. It all depends on what the product is and what the end result is. I find there are a lot more processes required if it's on the wellness side. So for example, if somebody's doing a hibiscus drink, you have to be careful where you're sourcing your hibiscus. Is it organic? And so these are the other things that we teach our clients as well, which is, you can't just use the word organic,
right,
because it sounds good. You have to make sure that where you're sourcing it, the farmer is organic.
Right.
Or
So speaking of that, what do you go? Do you advise all of these certification, kosher, vegan?
Absolutely,
Okay.
because if you once you put that stamp on, you have to go through the audit certification to be able to use that stamp.
Okay. Okay.
So Janice, with all the hoops
Mm-hmm.
specification wise in Canada, do you think it's too restrictive?
I don't think so. Personally, it's food. I think if you're going to put something in your mouth, you need to know it's safe. It's as simple as
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
You know, if you start pulling down the protections that are in there, you open up yourself to other things. And so what do I mean? If someone comes along and says, oh, I have a new technology process that I want to use and it hasn't been tested, but then the consumer is going to be the guinea pig, that's not going to go over so well. So these are why these checks and balances are in place. And oddly enough that you should ask that, Dr. Vibe, the fact is these tests are standards. I mean, we use HACCP, which is used by NASA, you know, and these are how we measure what are the critical control points when you are preparing food. That's hot, cold, storing, cooling, refrigeration, you name it. So nothing's changed. Those are the foundational things that people have to know. And so one of the other things we inform them that is, you know, if you want to go to a retailer, a grocery store chain, you have to meet these HACCP audits. You don't just walk in there and go, hey, here's my soup and I'm going to go with it. No. So, you know, we walk them through what the process looks like and we prepare them for the best case scenario and the worst case scenarios, AKA a recall. And by the way, recalls are natural. I don't want people to think that foods are never recalled. If you go to the government, the Canadian government website, the CFIA, there's a email, there's a link you can sign up for. I sign up for it. It shows you the recalls that happen every day. And some days are higher than others. But, you know, it's safe, but it can't always be safe. Things happen.
Sheree, I know you, I just want to ask, compared to what Janice is saying in the US, does the food industry have, and the beverage, are they as, I don't know, have the same sort of standards? I was going to say rigid, but do they have, just by your knowledge, because obviously Janice has the most amount of knowledge out of all of us on this. Do you see the standards being as stringent in the United States?
You know, but again, I don't get into the nuts and bolts like you do, Janice. But you know, for those that I know have a product, I don't remember it being all this strict. I'm not saying it's, well, you know, so for instance, you know, I was talking to someone and it was, you know, bring the product, you know, you create the product. It didn't seem to, we would be like, you know, did you go through all this testing? Or anything like that. It was, you've got a product, bring it into the store, let's taste it out. If the management team likes it, then we'll get it going. You know what I mean? So if there's something else in terms of some safety and stuff going on, that's a good question that I'm going to ask, because I'm going to be connecting with someone next week. And I want to ask him, he has a dry rub as well as some fruit spreads, Jamaican as well. And I'm going to tell him about the hot sauce too. And it's so funny because remember, Dr. Vibe, we were interviewing.
Yes, Bad Zodi.
The Soka, the hot one. I'm giving this to him because I can't do it. So that's going to be going over to him. But anyway, so I'm going to ask him about that. Then.
Yeah, because from what I just gathered knowledge-wise, I believe that the United States is less regulated than Canada, and especially over the last few years with all the deregulation that's going on in different areas. I'd be curious to know the regulations, food process-wise and beverage process-wise, compared to what we have here in Canada.
Yeah, I'm sure I would have heard something by now, but it's like, you know, I don't know that you create your spice mix and then you send it off, or you have it tested and this and that, and then you're able to buy. I don't know. I've never heard of that.
Usually you do, because you send it off for shelf life testing. as the obvious, to get your shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
And also to validate the claims, any claims that you're going to be making.
Mm-hmm.
So that testing is sort of what backs it up, So, if you say it's, sugar free, so they're going to test for sugars, they're going to test for fat, they're going to test for proteins. And so that nutritional label that's stuck to every jar or container is what holds the product to that benchmark. Right. So you don't veer off from that. In other words, because as a consumer, you want to know what it says on the jar is what you're purchasing.
Right.
No surprises.
Yeah, most definitely, because I know. Yeah, so I'm going to learn that. So now I just want to see what that stuff is.
Well, not only do we want to know, one of the viewers live, Birdie Lynn TV, says, yes, I'm interested to know more about that too, because I know she's located in the States. So V. Sheree has some homework.
I do.
She has some homework.
Mm-hmm.
Janice, through your journey,
yes, are
you seeing more BIPOC women getting into the game of food?
Absolutely. I have seen some phenomenal products in prototype that if we get them the funding or the supports, and sometimes it's not always money, sometimes it's the expertise, the networking. The beautiful thing about what women bring to market is the health and wealth aspect of food. We are nurturers. So when we bring food to the table, it's to nurture. It's to heal, or it's for comfort. It serves a purpose. And so when we have our ideas, we don't look at, food, we can eat it. No, it's from a place from our soul. It's really from our soul that we bring to market. And so it has a different meaning for women when they bring it to market. So yes, absolutely.
How much? Many years ago, I remember someone told me one of the key words in business, and I would say especially when it comes to food, is distribution. What are I know there are challenges in regards to this. What are your thoughts during your food journey about the whole aspect of distribution? Because we're dealing with startups or people just getting out, and how much of a challenge is to get that distribution deal?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. So, and we talk about this, which is you can be launching a product and you wind up being a unicorn, and a unicorn is, you're great. And the problem you run into as a startup is you usually don't have the financial depth to scale up. And so, you have retailers coming to you saying, okay, I want 6-7 skids. And you can't figure out how you're going to produce that much volume. And B, you don't have the logistics built to distribute that. So that's one issue. The second issue is if you're a startup and you're not the unicorn, how do you get into the shelf? How do you get on the store shelves? And so you really need some hand holding there, because apart from picking up the phone and calling, the head office and saying, I have this product, before you get to the shelves, there's some nuances that you're going to have to get familiar with, which is listing fees. A lot of people are surprised that
I had no idea this. Go for it.
A lot of people are surprised because they see their a product on the shelf that you just walk in and it gets put on the shelf. No, you pay a fee. And the fee is indicative of where you are put on the shelf. So when you walk into the Walmarts and you're on the corner right at the end of the aisle, that is prime location that you are paying for. Okay. And then when you play with, stores like Walmart as well, they have penalties if you don't deliver on time.
I know this.
Yes.
I'm aware of this.
Exactly. So it's funny. You hear a lot of startups saying, well, I want to make my product and I want to go to Costco. Well, it doesn't work like that. Costco doesn't buy in 1 or 2 skids. No. Costco buys in multiple skids.
So Janice, is that where they should start? I mean, not that you want to discourage that, but I mean, it's like you need to crawl before you walk.
I always say that to them. So for startups, I always suggest start with your food markets.
Mm-hmm.
That's your testing ground. Okay. If you can't afford $12,000 to have 10 or 15 people you don't know sit in a room and assess your product, the freest market is your food market.
Mm-hmm.
And your food market is not so much to sell product, it's to get feedback. Because what you think might be your bestseller is what the consumer might disagree with.
Yes.
Right? And
Yep.
so that is where you determine, am I going to launch 2 products versus 5 products? And that's the other thing. I'm going to make an apple cider. I'm going to make an apple plum. I'm going to make an apple peach. No. No. If you have 5, you need to pick 2 of your strongest. So you have an alternative, something that can continually drive revenue. One of the other things that we also point out is that, you may have a product that has a longer shelf life on average than a product that has a shorter shelf life. What does that mean for your bank account? It means the product with the longer shelf life has a slower rate of return on your dollars. Because they're not coming to you as frequently to buy the product.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the things that, we educate and we say, okay, well, what's the shelf life? How many turnovers are you going to have? What's your sales are going to look like? So these are all the little finite things that, we don't think of, but they factor in such a huge way.
No.
Sheree, who would make it? What would be a dynamite combination?
Who?
Deborah and Janice.
Oh yeah.
That would be I'm just saying. I'm going the knowledge, but the valued experiences that both of them have. That would be a dynamite.
Absolutely, with her coming from Hershey and launching Splenda, definitely.
And Janet, the combination of both, like I could see a mastermind session given by both of them to BIPOC women.
Now, so speaking of that, Janice, does the program have guest speakers?
Absolutely. We heavily feature women.
Okay.
I think that is important. Of all different races and creeds, it's important to show the diversity. Women only represent 25% in this space, in the food space. 25%. So that speaks volumes. So again, we need to see other women who are doing it, who are being successful. And what we encourage as well is, as much as we want to hear the success stories, we want to hear about the failures, the frustrations, and the challenges, because we have to keep it real.
Gotcha. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in the magazine piece and put on my marketing and PR hat. How do you go to talk to brands about that? Because what we have found, unfortunately, in the past, the photography is not good. So they're not media ready. So now they've got a product, they're selling it, whether e-commerce, local stores, whatever, but they haven't taken that time to, from a marketing and a PR standpoint, make sure that package is together.
So we have a YouTube channel and a media side in which we also showcase clients and their products.
Okay.
And so we have a video company that we work with, and we help them build out the storyline, and we help them build out those videos that they can use.
Okay.
And so one of the things in the early stages we emphasize with clients is, what is the story? Because people think branding is just the name on a jar and that's it. No, we have savvy consumers now. Your children are savvier about food now. They know about healthy food. They read labels. They know what's in the jar, and they will ask, where is it coming from? That never happened before. Why? Because we're asking it. So they're duplicating our behaviors. And so I tell clients today, the 7-year-old who's either in grade or the grade 7s to the grade 12s, when I'm talking to clients, I say to them, okay, where do you want to be in 5 years? that's the market that they're going to be catering to in 5 years, which means they're going to have more knowledge. And so what is the story? Are you sustainable? Do you contribute to SDGs? You know, are you about, you know, feeding the poor across other nations? What is your story? Because your story is what connects your consumer and makes them loyal to your brand.
Right.
So you're creating brand loyalty,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you think about every product that we purchase, you know, it's not Kleenex, it's tissue paper, but we refer to it as Kleenex.
Yes.
Okay. So we have brand loyalty.
Right.
And if we ask ourselves, you know, well, why won't you buy the no name? You know, we might say, well, you know what? It's not as harsh on my nose. It's gentler, it's softer, and it's a product I trust. So that story is about trust and growing with the company and developing trust and having long-term loyal clients. That's what branding is about. And so we educate them about that from the beginning, because every product has a story.
Yeah, it sure does.
Sheree, you want to add? I have stuff, but
No, go for it, Dr. Buck.
So how do people find out, or how do the ladies of the world find out? How do they find out about you now compared to when you first started?
Very good question. So networking. One of the things that I realized in the last year and a half is that men inherently network. I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy that can get you a set of tires at this price.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Women don't do that. So now we're starting to see more of that. And we're starting to see it in what's called social enterprise groups. And so networking is emphasized, and it's not pushed upon you. It's a group of people that you wind up doing a program with, that you keep in contact, that are diverse, that may know somebody who may know somebody. So when you come into that community forum and they say, okay, how are you feeling today? What do you need? The answers come in. And so you're connected. And so that I am pushing hard on, because as Black women, we don't like to network. We'll network, but we don't network for the sake of, okay, you know what, I'm going to help this person out. Or, you know what, it may not be of any use to me, but it might be of use to you. So we really have to broaden our circle and make that part of our everyday business communication. And it's so funny, because as a West Indian, I found networking painstaking, because I thought networking was you go in, you have an agenda, and you leave with a goal. Okay. It was not about connectivity or anything else. I have a new appreciation for networking now. And I have a diverse group of people in my network. And that is what is important as well.
So here's a great example. And I don't like the word networking, because to me, most people's net ain't working. Right?
And you said that, Dr.
All right. I like collaboration, because
Absolutely.
I'm firm believe collaboration and data are the future. But
Yes.
I'll use the story about that N word. It's not the other N word, but the N word, right? And that's what I practice as much as I can, because Janice and I were having a conversation, and we're going to keep names out of this. There was an organization that I had found out that there was an organization that did not treat her fairly. And I said, okay. And this is a Canadian-based organization. It will remain nameless.
I hear you.
Right? Yeah. So I said, okay, Janice, let me get in contact with Sheree Williams.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I pulled, as I said, bang.
And here we are.
And so here, and I said, bang. So I agree that the collaboration and data are key for everyone that's listening to this. Collaboration. Every conversation I have now, 99% of the time, there's someone in my head say, okay, you need to speak to that person.
Absolutely. And it's great too, because you may not connect today,
Right.
but you have them there. But you have them there. So it's not a stretch. It's not a stretch. You know, I send people emails, say, hey, just checking in. I know we met a couple weeks, you know, just checking in, see how you're doing, because, you know, you keep it open, you keep it going.
Yes.
And there's a new appreciation. especially when it comes to diverse communities. Because, you know, we don't want to be homogenized where, oh, we're only going to stick with our own kind of thing. We have to get away from that. That's not how you build.
That's how you grow too, right?
Exactly. That is growth.
But one of my premises is the more you know, the more you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
What has 2020 been like for the startups that you are dealing with?
It's been rough for them.
Mm-hmm.
Product that they had ready to go out has been halted. It's been halted because the retail sector, when COVID started, they slammed the brakes and they basically went into secure mode and said, okay, you know what? We'll only sell the high demand stuff, which is toilet paper, cornflakes, you know, the basic commodities. And so anybody who was in negotiations in launching something in the retail stores was halted. They're still in a hold position, as well as the supply chain was just mangled. You know, you couldn't bring stuff in because the containers from China were stuck here because COVID. You couldn't send them out, so you couldn't export and you couldn't import. And so a lot of startups, however, who either had existing products or were holding inventory, switched to a digital platform, which was
I was going to ask this.
Okay.
I was going to ask this.
And so
Talk to us about this.
Okay, so that was imperative for survival on all levels, whether you're a restaurant, brick and mortar, it didn't matter. But I tip my hat to the city of Toronto, partnering with Digital Main Street and Shopify. They offer a service where if you want to create a digital platform and you have a product, all you have to go is you just go to digitalmainstreet.ca, I think, and you sign up, you register, you go to their info session, and you will know within 5 or 10 minutes or half an hour after the session, once you apply, if you will qualify for that. And they will have a dedicated person that will work with you to help launch that website. So it couldn't get any easier.
Nice.
That's fantastic. And so what percentage of the startups that you were working with were not even thinking about a digital platform until this hit? Because I know you probably educate say it's a good thing to have, but now it's like they have to do it.
Well, it's funny. I'm going to tell you a story. So I was pushing digital webinar. I was pushing for webinars in 2018, and everybody was, I'm not so sure if this is what we should do. And I said, listen, there are people in rural communities that need access to this information. And so we launched the pilot, and it went well, but people were still hesitant. You know, they like to physically come in. Well, let me tell you something. When COVID hit, everybody switched to that digital platform because that was the only way you could maintain your business and still get revenue. And so prior to COVID for producers, it was an afterthought. Now we can't go back now. It's that epiphany. Once you know, there's no going back. So you have to have a digital presence, whether it's a website, whether it's social media, Instagram, Facebook, you know. And by the way, I'm not a huge social media fan. Thank God I have colleagues that take care of that.
You and the lady across from you are the same way.
It's not my thing, but I know people that love it. So, you know, exactly. I always say, know what you're good at and stick to it. Okay.
Absolutely. That 2021.
Yep. So I hand that over. But yeah, you cannot function in business without having a digital platform or footprint. You have to.
Sheree, anything else as we start winding it down?
Yes, just want to talk about 2021. What do you have planned?
So we are going to be launching our programs in 2021 in April. That is the date that we're looking at. We're looking at having more webinars, and hopefully we should be having, I'd love to have a conference which is the BIPOC food conference, and maybe the global initiative, food initiative, can play a role in that as well. I think there's so many opportunities, especially from the BIPOC lens right now, that are open to us. We may not have a label for it as we speak, but I'm sure by the time we finish this call or by the end of the week, we'll have more ideas. And, I've always said my greatest ideas come when I'm in the shower. So who knows?
I hear you.
For some reason, that's where my best ideas come from.
As we wind down, Janice, what words of wisdom, call to action do you have for especially the BIPOC women that want to get in this space, and also the BIPOC women that are in this space?
Words of wisdom.
Well, you gave us some great tips.
Yeah.
In the article.
I think, Vishri, I'd lie if I could say I'd remember what I said.
I wish I could get to it myself and let you know. And actually, give me a second and I can.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The call to action definitely would be for the financial institutions, the funding agencies to start paying attention and to hearing. We have a voice and we need to be heard. And we need to be given these opportunities. Funding is essential. We just had a report from the I can't remember the name. It's called Unfunded. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, Dr. Vibe, but the numbers were absolutely appalling in terms of how much funding Black-led or Black-served communities get. And so that has to change in order for us to be able to support ourselves, stand on our own feet and grow.
Okay.
You can't have one without the other. And, I want to give a shout out to, my BIPOC people who are out there with their food. There's Nerpies, who has his hot sauce. There's Neil Food Ice Cream, which is a Trinidadian ice cream. There's World Moss, which is a sea moss infused drink. There's African fusion soup, called it Super by Lola. There is Taste of Jamaica Bammies by Donna. There's the Tropics Coconut Mix by Denise. There's Tush Patties by Opal. Wow. The list could go on. Listen, we are here. We are here.
See. So one of the pro tips you said, own the room.
Absolutely. Do not go in a room. Mission. Yep.
Ask. Learn the language and partnerships.
Absolutely. Ask, because you just never know. If you're going, go ahead.
I'm going to add on to that and make a big ask, because you don't know if you're going to say yes or no.
Absolutely.
Make your big ask. And especially during these times, you may have a better opportunity of getting a yes or let's talk about that now more than ever before.
Exactly. So never discount what the answer is going to be, because you don't know.
Absolutely.
But ask, because you never know, you may get it. What was the other one, Vishri?
You said partnerships and learn the language.
Okay, so know the language is very important. I make it a practice to listen to a webinar, attend webinars at least once a week.
Okay.
I do that, so I know I'm still learning how to speak the language. I'm involved in the Feminist Accelerator program. I joked the other day, I said I didn't even realize I was a feminist, because we were just doing our thing. We didn't know that's what it was. Who knew? But yeah, it's important. You don't have to know the entire encyclopedia, but you just have to be familiar at a minimum. Just be familiar, because that helps. And partnerships.
And that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask the producer, because I did put the link up for the article featuring Janice in Cuisine Noir. So hopefully, there we go. So you can check out Janice and her wisdom.
Thank you.
In Cuisine Noir Magazine. That is what the article looks like. Just go to Cuisine Noir and put in Janice Bartley, and you will catch that article.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
you're welcome. And I'm going to share my last piece of advice is, and somebody once said to me, if not you, then who?
you.
There you
Fantastic. Janice, I like to say thank you. And you were nervous. It didn't sound like it.
She did great.
It didn't sound like it. No problems at all. Sheree, any final words before we close out?
No, looking forward to partnering with you and bringing that knowledge down here to the States in 2021. So
good. And if I can get the producer to do one more favor, if you can put up the links for Foodprenuer quickly on the, so they are scrolling on the bottom, folks. So there's all the contact information for Foodprenuer, their Facebook, their website, their Instagram is all there. If you can also put up the website address for Cuisine Noir Magazine, that would be, there we go. And then finally, but not lastly, for the Global Food and Drink Initiative.
Yeah, there we are.
So there you are. So we got it all covered. I'd like to say thanks to everyone for watching. These ladies, as a famous preacher in the U.S. says, get ready, get ready, get ready. Get ready, get ready, get ready. They are going to be dangerous in a good way. Mr. John Lewis said, good trouble. I have a feeling they're going to be causing some good trouble in 2021. So I'm Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 and 2018 award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And also once a month, I host the only conversations in the world, monthly conversations that are for fathers and dads, that are sponsored by Dove Men Care. They're also sponsored by Dad Central Canada's national fatherhood organization, but it's the only thing that Dove Men Care is putting their stamp to when it comes to dads and fathers broadcasts every month. And I'm very blessed to be part of those conversations. As always, if you want to get in touch with me, the best place is drvibeshow.com. I'd like to thank everyone who watched this live, watched it on the replay, or listened on the replay. Thank you so much. Birdie Lynn, Brandon, and a few other people, thank you so much. I always end off my conversations like this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Thank you to BIA Media for the great production. And if you're not watching the rest of my conversations for the rest of the month, have a happy holiday season. And remember to give yourself grace. Thank you, BIA Media. God bless. Peace and well. Keep the faith and walk good.